Hi all, it's Ragarath here. I am back, and Tectonica or Firehose have released us a new video, and this one is called Let's Preview Tectonica version 0.1.2. Spoilers! They're releasing it this week. Woohoo! Anyway, let's get on and see what Joey's got to say, and let's react to it all.
Hey, this is Joey from Firehose Games, and I'm here with a preview of the 0.1.2 patch that's coming this week. We can officially announce that the second of the two quality of life updates for Tectonica is arriving this week. We're shooting for Tuesday, but it might happen on Wednesday.
Okay, Tuesday is today in my time, so they haven't released it today that I've seen.
So hopefully we'll have it for you tomorrow if you're watching this on Monday, but there's a chance it might be here on Tuesday. And heck, you could be watching this while it's already out, so welcome aboard. I have a few, maybe one or two very brief announcements before we get into the patch preview. First of all, the patch notes will be going live with the patch itself. So they'll be up on Steam. You can find them on our Discord. You'll also be able to find them on our website, tectonicagame.com.
Okay, I'll do a reaction to the full stuff. Sounds like they're just going to highlight a few things in this one.
So they'll be more in depth than what I'm going to dive into today, which I am going to cover a lot, but there's a bunch of both small and maybe less banner updates that are probably affecting a handful of players or a bunch of players, but not every player. So the stuff that I'm talking about today should be affecting just about everybody. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is a bundle that we're offering. We announced it 2 weeks ago now, but we are bundled or partnered with the team that's making Desynced. We actually met them at the Tokyo Game Show.
I've looked at this game and it looks awesome. After they announced it last time, I am going to download this and give it a try, and I'll make a video on it and I'll see how it plays.
We both decided we kind of love each other's games. Desynced is awesome. If you haven't played it yet or heard of it, it's a factory automation game that sort of ditches the conveyor belt and inserter logistics system for programmable bots. So you can actually create behaviors for these bots to run stuff between your factory. It just introduces a lot of really interesting logistics problems that we don't even have in Tectonica right now. So I don't know, we kind of love the game, and they like our game, and they were super nice, and we decided, hey, let's partner up. So the bundle is up now. It's limited time. We haven't really picked an end date. We're just going to see how.
Ooh, they've got a graph system on it. Okay, so equip. Oh, that's interesting. I'm really going to give that a go
bundle.
now.
So if you already own our game, or maybe you already own their game, or you own neither game, you'll get them for 12% off. So if you already own Tectonica, for example, and you want Desynced, if you buy it through our bundle, you'll get Desynced for 12% off. That goes in addition to any sales that might be going on at the time they're on sale. So pretty cool. I want to dig into the patch preview. As usual, I have a list of stuff to talk about. It's a pretty long list this week, so excuse me as I zip over to it and scroll around. I'm sorry. I want to get through everything, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff here. So let's dive in, and we're going to start with the monorail and HVC bug. So when early access launched, 0.1 launched, and even 0.1.1, we had this really nasty and obnoxious bug that happened late game. Players would get to the monorail, they would build their large networks and try to get the monorail powered up using the HVC cable, which are both of those items are late game tech, and they wouldn't work. The monorail depot would not receive power from the HVC cable when connected to the power floors.
No, it would not.
That was the bug, and it's obnoxious. It made it so that you had to run power floors all over your factory or create a secondary power station next to the monorail.
And if you've watched any of my series on 0.1.1, then you'll see that I ended up my first playthrough. I tried the high voltage cables, but they didn't work. So I have been using power floors as power cables and just making them all over the cavern to connect things up
in order to get it to run. To be honest, the HVC cable was the last thing that made it into Tectonica before early access. It came in super hot right at the end. It was something we wanted to have, and it works for a lot of systems. It's required in order to beat the game, but it's just pretty, glitchy, I guess. And there were some bugs that we hadn't uncovered in our testing process, and this was one of them. it's dead now. We fixed the bug. Monorail depots will run with the HVC cable connected to their base and nothing else, right? So you can just set up the power floors, monorail, HVC cable down on the floor, good to go. This is huge for us. It wasn't something that we were sure was going to be able to get into 0.1.2.
Opens up a lot better gameplay options as well.
You know, it was a difficult bug because really it involved 3 separate systems. There was the machine power system, there's the power floor conductivity system, and then there's the HVC like power transfer system. So these were complex and the bug had a lot of layers. We fixed it. Shareth, our lead engineer, fixed it, and we're super psyched that this one is dead. Thank goodness. And speaking of dead bugs that we may miss more than others, the 000 bug is gone.
Oh,
if you've
no!
been on our Discord forums and our
This is the strange thing that you find at the middle of the level, and we didn't know what it was to start with.
Discord or even the Steam forums, and on Reddit as well. Our subreddit talks about this a lot. 000 is the center of the map as it is in 0.1, right? This location is where we preloaded a lot of stuff into the map in order to help with performance. But unfortunately, there was a bug that created hologram versions of the stuff that we were preloading in, and it also represented itself on the map.
Not just hologram versions either, though, because you could literally stand on it.
So players would make their way to the pink caverns where the hydroelectric station is, and they'd see this giant box, like a core composer-sized box under the ground, dig and find nothing but holograms. And even worse, if you erase those holograms, they actually delete items back in your factory, which is super awful. This bug spawned the creation of a badge on our Discord, which I'll throw on the screen here because it's hilarious. We won't be getting rid of the badge. It's still funny, but we are getting rid of the bug. 000 is gone. Thank goodness. Rest in peace. Huge news. So into the world itself, we've added more ore voxels to existing ore veins. A lot more ore voxels.
So we've already heard about this.
Why did we do this? Let's get into the
other video
size first, and then I'll talk about the why. I made a fancy chart. Check it out. So you see that everything went up.
Oh my god, that is a massive increase. Look at these percentages on the right over here. Wow. They must be increasing the amount to actually build things. They've got to, because just using the starter veins, I did my whole 0.1.2 series on just the starter veins. They must be increasing build costs.
Copper goes up by 894% roughly, iron goes up by 1266, limestone by 563, and Atlanta by 1397. All those are percentage increases. It's a lot more ore, and we've done it by adding to the existing ore veins that are spread across the map. So what happens if you've dug into the area around those existing ore veins? That's a great question, and we are accounting for it. Essentially, we'll look at the snave.
What's a snave? Is it one of these?
We'll look at the save and we'll try to figure out where you've already dug. And if you've dug in a place where we're supposed to be adding these voxels, we simply won't add them there. If you are, want those voxels, you're going to need to start a new save, but it shouldn't affect it too much. We just didn't want to overrun factories or break saves.
I will probably restart again anyway in 0.1.2.
We're pretty happy with the result, and we think it's going to be good in the long run. For 0.2, the base building update, you're going to need more ore in order to build all the base building parts. That's why we've done this. We've also wanted to prep the world for later updates as well. So this is really a good for now quality of life update, but it's also some future proofing in order to get you exactly what you need to build all this stuff in the game. We want finite ore because we want you moving. We want you to create new outposts. We want you to push further into the story, and the story is going to have you moving from place to place too. So you're being encouraged to not set up a factory in a single location. In 0.1, it's really easy to stay put. Later, we don't want it to be too easy, and we want the ore to be part of that push you to move requirement. Everyone knows by now, if you've played our game long enough, you know that even though the ore is finite, it takes a long time to chew through it. The previous math was 5,000 miners will take 5,000 hours to get through all the ore on 0.1. using the math or the percentage increases I gave you now, you could probably figure out how much more time that will require, but it's going to be a lot longer in order to get through all that ore, but it's still finite. We still want you moving. Speaking of moving, which is, man, these segues today are amazing. We have added the Mark III conveyor belts. These things are fast. The Mark 1 conveyors move 240 items per minute. Mark 2 is 480 items per minute.
720?
Mark 3 is 720 items per minute. They are zooming, and they should help with a lot of the logistics problems that we have. Of course, if you know factory games, you know that when we add something like this, it just creates its own set of logistics problems. That's kind of the joy of upgrading stuff in factory games.
Not taking stuff
We
off
do
the
not
belt
have
quick
more
enough,
logistics stuff ready for the game quite yet, but it is planned. It is coming super soon. You won't see new inserter types or anything in the base building update. That is solely focused on base building, but you will see more soon. So stay with us. Yes, we've heard your requests for all the different filter types, all the different stack inserter types, all the different
filter stack inserters, please.
Splitters and everything else. Yes, we've heard you. We also have our own plans for some interesting stuff, so stay tuned. That will be coming down the line, and it will help with the Mark III conveyors that we've added. But enjoy the new speed. Maybe you can turn belt riding on, or off, right? There's a little spoiler for what's coming. We also introduced save slots with this one. So save slots.
Before he goes on save slots, belt riding, if you've played Tectonica and you stand on a belt, then you will move with the belt, as in, the belt's moving in real life. But that causes big problems when you're trying to build a tight-fitting factory and build everything close together. So I find it annoying most of the time. Obviously, with this sped up one, you could possibly use it as a transport system, but I'd rather be able to turn it off most of the time, I think.
Is a much better way of organizing saves in Tectonica. Right now in version 0.1 and 0.1.1, saves are just a giant list that run in like chronological order of last play, right? Or last save, I guess. It's super unorganized. The system, like if you start a new game, we have no way of knowing like which game you've started in, and it's just like this game of having to remember where things are. So the save slots are basically instance.
We've heard about this before. They still won't let us name them though.
We actually have a folder.
So how do you tell save slot 1 from save slot 100?
But on the front side, we've started a save slot, and then in those save slots, we have all the saves that are specific to that world or instance, and that includes your auto saves and your manual saves. The good news is that this is working backwards too, so we're going to be able to work with your existing saves and throw them into slots. So you won't just see this pile of saves that's disorganized.
Throw my old saves away.
Ready for you. Of course, this brings in the question that I have kind of a bad news answer for. Save naming won't be here with 0.1.
Bad.
0.2. It's on our list. It comes down to controller support. We have to fully support controllers, and we have to do it in a way that feels good for UI and UX. And quite frankly, our UI and UX is not where we want it to be for Tectonica yet. So we're in process of overhauling, and we're going to make the keyboard edition, like being able to name saves as part of that process. Stay with us. We want name saves too. They are coming. It is on the roadmap. We will be getting them, just not quite yet. In terms of accessibility, we've added a new feature for gathering plants. So early game, you know that you have to walk around and spam gather. So on the keyboard and mouse layout, you're just smashing E while you're walking through fields of Kindlevine or Shiverthorn. It's kind of annoying, and quite frankly, for some people, it's an accessibility bother. Like it's not everybody can sit here and spam a key. We get it. We wanted to kind of come up with a solution that made it easier to mass gather plants like that, while not defeating the purpose of farming. We want you to get to farming, right? We don't want gathering plants to be too easy, because it'll just push off your requirement for making fuel via the planters and threshers. We want you to get to that sooner. The solution that we came up with was just a simple, like you hold the gather button, look at a plant, and it'll start gathering. And if you continue to look at plants within like a specific time period, you'll just do it automatically. So by holding E on keyboard and mouse, if you just kind of make your way through an area of Kindlevine or Shiverthorn or whatever plants you can gather, as long as they're gatherable, you'll keep just reaching out and grabbing them. It's super easy. It's not gonna make it so that you can hoover up everything all at once, but it is kind of a nice go-between, between making it too easy to gather plants and making it too obnoxious. So we think this is a good happy medium, and we're pleased with where it landed.
Yeah,
we've also
I think that's a
introduced
good way
a
of
new
doing it.
system that should help with large factory performance, and that's machine streaming. This one's pretty complicated. We did a longer video and blog post about this a few weeks back, as we were
Yeah, I did a reaction on that one as well, guys. So if you want to go and see that, you can either watch mine or support Tectonica and go and watch theirs. But I'm really looking forward to this one. A lot of improvement. So hopefully I won't be lagging so much in late game.
previewing 0.1.2. But the gist is that essentially with Unity, every inserter, let's take an inserter for example, has 14 objects associated with it. Not a big deal when you're talking about one inserter, but when you're talking about a full cavern of inserters, or maybe in front of Victor, you can have 1,000 inserters or something if you were to be crazy. But all of those inserters would be there with every one of their 14 game objects. So just do the math, right? 1,000 times 14, and then all of a sudden we're accounting for a lot of machine memory all at once in a very small space. If we don't, stream those machines in, then we create the issue of having that machine memory out across the world all the time. This affects performance, right? So we've done a few things. First of all, we only stream in the information that you need as you're there, and everything else is simulated in the backend. That's awesome. Now we've also reduced it so that we only need the 14 game objects for one inserter spread across all, not 14
Massive
times
reduction.
1,000. So even if you have 1,000 inserters now, we're only going to be streaming in the data for 14 game objects, not 14 times 1,000. Huge. This creates a really nice memory offload for us, and it makes it so that the larger factories will perform a little bit better. If you've had a really big factory and you walk around, you kind of have a relatively smooth frame rate with these hiccups, these dips that kind of stutter.
Yep.
Those dips are being reduced. This is also good for Xbox users. So the Xbox it limits us with its lower memory, right? A PC might have 16 or 32 gigs, but an Xbox does not. So when you're walking around a large factory, the memory issues are actually more problematic for you, and this solves a lot of those issues and potentially will solve some of the crashing issues that we've seen with super late game factories on the Xbox platform. So let us know. It should be helping. In the testing that we've done, it's been helping, so we'll see. Good news. Finally, this one's pretty cool, and one that we really haven't previewed up until now. But
Okay, new one.
Color and fog systems for our game were also overhauled between now and 0.1.2. What am I talking about? We've made it so that there's this nice ambient fog in the caves that sort of goes with the
that is
color of the
awesome. Look at
environment
that.
itself. So the mushroom grotto near the freight
That
elevator, those
feels
mushrooms
a
are
lot
giant
more
and green.
atmospheric.
That space now has this really nice green fog.
Yes.
The pink caverns near the hydroelectric plant, those were always
Pink fog?
Surrounded by those pink hydras. That also has a nice green fog
pink
to kind of
fog.
go with it. It makes our game a lot more alive and vivid, and it feels really
it makes
moody
it
when you
look
get into
a
these
lot
spaces, which is
better.
what we want. We want Calyx to feel alien and moody and colorful, and the fog really helps. But we've also overhauled our color filtering process.
Okay.
If you look kind of in 0.1 and 0.11, the colors are a little muted almost. They're a little, softer.
I must admit,
grayed over.
when I do my when I do my thumbnails for YouTube, I do oversaturate the screenshots because they come out really, really muted.
We've made it so that they're way more vivid. The colors look so much better in 0.1.2. The game is more vivid, it's more colorful, and it looks awesome. You may also notice that the flashlight is a little bit brighter too. Mark actually got into the flashlight a little bit.
I want to be able to turn it off.
Kind of created this warm glow around the player and increased the fidelity for the point portion of the headlamp. It's not overwhelmingly bright. We still want you to be kind of competing with the dark here, but it does feel warmer and it feels nicer when you're in a confined space. So all of that comes together to make Tectonica look just a little bit different in 0.1.2, and it's pretty stark and shocking, and we kind of love it. We have a bunch of other smaller settings that are updated in 0.1.2. I'll just quickly run through them right now before we move into the end of the video, but mouth smoothing or mouse acceleration, we have a toggle for that now. You can turn it on and off.
Okay, so is it on by default? I don't think it is, because I hate it. If it's on, I haven't actually noticed it.
Smart snapping. This is in preparation for the base building update, but you might like using it now. Smart snapping kind of auto snaps items to
base building. Come on, 0.2. We want you.
The grid, the grid logic that we have in place. A good example is the miners, right? Like if you go next to an ore vein, a miner will automatically rotate to point towards the ore vein. With smart snapping off, that miner won't do that. The reason we're doing this is because we're prepping for base building in 0.2. So with base building, you'll want to have more freedom, and so you can turn smart snapping off. We've also added a bunch of video settings, a frame rate limiter, the ability to play borderless.
I'm not sure we need a frame rate limiter later in game.
Windowed full screen. There's lots of stuff. The belt riding toggle is here, so you can actually turn off belt riding. We call it the no fun toggle, but we get it. Like,
apparently I'm no fun.
It's pretty obnoxious to be trying to set assembler recipes or something and have a Mark II conveyor belt move you while you're trying to access machine menus. You can turn that off now. So that's really it for 0.1.2. The patch notes will have more, but this is all that we want to share in the preview. Dig into the patch notes when they come out with the patch, which should be tomorrow or might be Wednesday. And thanks for hanging out. You guys are a huge reason why we're able to put together these big patches like this. Your feedback means a ton to us, and we try to make sure that we're there and listening and chatting with you on Discord and on Steam and on Reddit. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for all of your comments and even your kind words too. It means a lot to our team. We love that you're here. So come hang out with us on the Discord. It's discord.gg/Tectonica. Say hi, I'm Joey. Lauren is leftmost puddle. She's there as well. And we'll see you soon. Enjoy the new patch.
Okay, guys. Well, that was that. That was there's a lot of stuff, and it sounds like there's going to be more notes coming out as well. So I will do a small video on those when they come out. But as he said, it's either Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'm recording this on Tuesday, and it's not out yet. So hopefully it will be tomorrow, but I'm sure we can wait a few more days. Anyway, if you've enjoyed watching this video with me, then please give me a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks all. Bye.